Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Two Michaels podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Michael Bloom, and our guest, Shawnee Love, conscious kink practitioner. Hello, Shawnee.
Hello, hello guys, hello everyone.
Hi there.
Nice to be here. Nice
We're
to see you both.
Delighted to have you here today. Let's get straight into it. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes, sure. My background. So I guess you're interested in my background in regards to the conscious kink practitioner work, rather than just generally and everything.
How did you end up doing this work?
Yeah, it's a long story. So I've always been interested in ritual and energy work and archetypes and how this all kind of works. I did a lot of research when I was younger into the ritual traditions of my ancestors, Jewish on one side and Celtic on the other. I was always fascinated by studying this. And at the same time as studying and learning about spirituality in a very practical sense, I had this sort of something inside me that I didn't like. And there was some kind of predator energy, some kind of shadow, some kind of part of myself that really wanted to hurt people and overpower people and wanted to see people in pain. And I didn't understand this at all. This is before there was an internet. But cutting a long story short, I somehow realized that this darker part of mine, this heat, this kink part, this shadow part, could be explored and used for my own personal healing and empowerment, and thus for other people's as well. So I've combined sort of the ritual work with the sort of kink and darker fantasies, and it's now a cohesive system for personal empowerment, self-love, and consciousness expansion. So, yeah, that's the short version.
Interesting. I just want to know, because I'm not as knowledgeable. So, what is kink? Unlike conscious kink, is there just unconscious kink or regular kink, or what is kink in general?
Yeah, because it's a good question. Kink in general, I started off doing kink before I was doing unconscious kink for quite a while. And I don't want to create a hierarchy necessarily, because people who are not doing the same practices still have a beautiful sex life and full power to them. But kink is anything that's out of the ordinary, anything that's not monogamous, anything that's not vanilla, anything that's not heterosexual and binary, anything that might involve a power dynamic, anything that involves exploring some fantasy or some role play, such as, someone telling someone else what to do, surrendering, things like spanking and dressing up, all these can be considered kinks as well. So I think they're very widespread that some people have kinks.
Okay. Is there a difference between conscious kink and Shadow Tantra?
So I just define conscious kink first. So conscious kink is a way to use kink as a set of tools for exploring consciousness. So we're talking about using pain and power dynamics and archetypes. So exploring these as a ways to make our minds and our consciousnesses bigger, just to get to know ourselves more. So it's a path to healing, empowerment, consciousness expansion. Also bringing kink to explore consciousness, but also using consciousness to make our kink and our sex lives better. So much more awareness of consent and boundaries and power dynamics and the unspoken, taking away the assumptions. So this is about bringing consciousness to kink and just making our sex lives so much better. Uh-huh. So if I tell you what to do in some kind of erotic way, and we're both getting off on that, that's kind of a kink.
I love examples. Can you give us an example? Something well known, a very common kind of specific conscious kink?
Yeah, so kink can be very expensive, can cause quite a big field. But say I'm telling you what to do. Say we're into some kind of domination and submission role, and I'm telling you, okay, Michael, do a little dance for me. And if I'm enjoying watching you do that and you're enjoying being told what to do, then in a sense we're exploring our kinks. That's just the tip of the iceberg. But it's sort of, I'm telling you what to do. Now unbutton your top shirt. Yeah.
What would be an extreme example?
I guess your dirtiest, darkest fantasies and
Yes,
your dark
but not
mind is
you. Tell us
probably
about
the
someone
expansion.
else. Tell us about someone else. It doesn't mean it's you
Okay,
specifically. Something you came across.
sure. Sure. So some people, I'll start small and go bigger. Some people like spanking, which is hurting each other. So some people like to, receive pain. That has a whole psychological effect and can be very powerful and very healing. Some people like to receive and give that. Some people like to fantasize. Some people like to fantasize about being different ages, and some people consider that extreme. If someone fantasizes that on the daddy or the mummies in there, and that can be quite extreme for some people. For some people, playing with peeing on each other is a extreme fantasy. Sometimes people want to do so much pain that they pierce the skin so there's blood. For some people, that's a darker fantasy. It depends who you are. Some people's darker fantasy is just turning the lights on. You know what I mean? It's like, for some people, that's extreme. So it's just like, yeah, wherever your imagination can go. But commonly tying people up, suspending people from the ceiling with ropes, or putting hooks through people. These are sort of accessible, but kind of some people consider extreme that you might come across in a workshop or something.
I see. Okay.
And how does this relate to what people call Shadow Tantra?
Yeah, so you can do conscious kink without having any sense of spirituality, and I think that's an important point. Conscious kink doesn't need to have the woo-woo and the mysticism and the consciousness expansion part of it. And so I can run a conscious kink workshop with no ritual and no energy work whatsoever. But personally, I really love the energy work. I love the woo-woo. I love the archetypes and the ritual. And so for me, I like to have a distinction, both in terms of the content and in terms of the workshops and in terms of the marketing of my work. And so Shadow Tantra is, really specifically going into rituals where we consciously and deliberately access different archetypes that are inside us and awaken them inside us, because often we've oppressed them or suppressed them. So the specific archetypes that are really essential that you need inside yourself. And so Shadow Tantra is a sort of journey into awakening those, as well as energy work, which some people just go, I'm not interested in energy work, I don't believe in that. And there's still a place for them to explore conscious kink. They probably wouldn't enjoy a Shadow Tantra workshop. They think that's a bit woo-woo, that's a bit weird, don't want to go there. Yeah.
I'm not sure I
Does that make
understand.
sense?
I'm not sure I understand. I mean, going on to Tantra is too soon for me because I'm still trying to understand this conscious kink business. So if I'm a regular person who's never experienced any kind of kink, and I'm trying, and then I hear you saying that one could experience healing by being by pain being inflicted upon them. So I'm wondering if there's like a psychological foundation that this sits on. Like you can say, well, according to Jung, when the mind is pushed, then the super ego protrudes and overtakes the consciousness, and then you release some sort of endorphin, and that heals you. Or how does it work mechanically?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, and there's sort of multiple different angles or multiple different answers. So on one level, you're desensitizing that difference between what is pleasure and what is pain. And we're just getting into the idea of it's just a sensation. So it's kind of Eastern mysticism is a sort of foundation on one level. Eastern mysticism often says there's no pleasure, there's no pain, there's just sensations. So we just appreciate it. But on a more embodiment level, a lot of people have challenges accessing their emotions. So, for example, as a man, when you're growing up, you're probably taught not to cry. I don't know where you grew up, but a lot of men were taught not to cry. But the right kind of spanking and the right kind of pain can sort of unlock those tears. It can be very healing to sort of let those tears out that many men didn't cry for many decades. So that's healing. Many women never access their anger. The right kind of impact play, the right kind of pain can sort of help women and other people access their anger. So these are really healing and empowering ways to be, to access this buried emotion. And it's not strictly on gendered grounds at all, but this is just the probably easiest way to describe it. People of all genders need to access their tears or their anger. Other ways it can be healing is it can create deeper intimacy. So if I'm hitting you in just the right way, then you're going to start to open up. Your vulnerability can be there.
What
And if
way?
I'm holding you in just the
How do you need to hit me for me to awake?
well, for you, I think I'm going to be cradling you and sort of maybe doing some thumps on your chest. That's probably the way to do it.
Very interesting.
Regular steady thumps on your chest. Yeah.
I'll tell
I
you
think
what.
we're doing that. You're going to
Yeah.
by doing that, you're going to take your armor off, and we're going to meet each other more deeply. Our eyes are going to meet. I'm going to see your vulnerability, and that's going to create a powerful connection.
I see. The thing I find interesting is I personally have an issue with crying. I don't cry. I wish I could cry. I see, sometimes people cry in films, and you see people, who cry, men cry in different, I've been to different workshops, and I see men around me crying like babies, and I'm like, why can't I cry? And what you just said is interesting. So perhaps if my girlfriend was to actually, I don't know, spank me to a point that it's so painful that I'm actually crying out of the pain, the physical pain, that might actually open up emotional things.
Absolutely. But done in a really conscious and careful way, not just random hits, but in you directing, saying, go in again, starting softly, going a little bit harder. You don't want to be overwhelmed because that's going to block your tears, but going consciously and carefully and step by step. Eventually, she's going to help you unlock your tears, and it's going to be very beautiful and bonding for the both of you. So I've seen it many times.
Simkin, did you understand what conscious kink mean? Because all I hear is just what kink is, but what's conscious kink? I didn't get it.
I'd say conscious kink in as opposed to unconscious kink, which is, you might say that's similar to the difference between making love and sex, where kink might just be doing the action, where it might be driven out from fantasy without particular awareness or presence. Conscious kink means being super aware of doing it, and where it's all about being and being full, complete. And that, I believe, if I understand rightly, that's where the healing lies, in its as becoming whole and deepening our acceptance of ourselves and the world.
You said driven by fantasy, Simkin. So I'm wondering, Shawnee, could you relate to the fantasy thing? I mean, like, can kink be driven by fantasy and not be conscious?
I think fantasy can be conscious. So just to break apart your question a little bit, but for me, the difference between unconscious and conscious kink was my own journey. When I started getting into kink, there was not much conversation. My girlfriend wanted to be spanked, so I'd spank her. And we didn't talk about how hard or how soft or the reasons why. There's many reasons why it could be enjoyable. And we used to swap roles. So she used to spank me as well. And I didn't enjoy that. And she didn't enjoy that. But we thought we better do this because of women's equality and gender disparities, just to make it really even. So even though neither of us enjoyed it, we sort of went in and we did it multiple times until we sort of brought more consciousness to the situation and decided, no, we don't actually want this. So it just really bring as much consciousness to the small details as possible. Yeah. But to ask you about fantasies, I think fantasies can be a great tool. I think most of us grew up in a society where sexuality is everywhere, but not in a very conscious way. And sexuality is not encouraged to be explored in a healthy way. So it's like we see it in the marketing, but we don't know how to access it inside of ourselves. And many people have been taught to oppress your sexuality. Men are like this, women are like this, monogamy is the way, all kinds of reasons. Don't touch yourself because reasons, and some people are Christians, or monogamy is the way. So there's all kinds of reasons why societal sexuality is broken. So it's no wonder that our subconscious mind processes those signals combined with our bodies. So our bodies do want sexuality, it does want to explore, and there can be a contradiction or a clash between what the body wants and what society is telling us as normal. So I think the psyche, you talk about Carl Jung, I think the psyche sort of processes those messages and the bodies and turns them into erotic fantasies. And I think it'd be very healing and powerful to explore those things. Yeah.
Okay.
What do
You
you
with
have
me?
Yeah, sure thing. What do you have to say to people who would say that sort of this is evil or dangerous?
Yeah, so I think there's different reasons people might say that. There's religious people who are extremists who think any sexuality besides PIV, penis in vagina, with the lights off between married man and woman, is anything outside of that is evil. And I think, that's so anti-science and anti the body and anti-truth that it's kind of sad that people still believe that, and that people who believe that actually have political power in the world. That's quite a kind of tragedy. Um, However, there are dangers as well. There are dangers because we are talking about hurting people and consciously controlling people. We are talking about fantasies such as control and overpowering people. And without practice, learning how to communicate and saying stop and go or other safe words, it can be dangerous if people like re-traumatizing themselves or hurting themselves or being awakening old wounds or creating new traumas. So there are real dangers there, which is why it's to learn as much as you can and explore as much as you can.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So yes, Michael.
I was just going to say, I guess it's like a sharp tool that it has a use, but you've got to be careful because you can cut yourself otherwise.
Yeah, you cut yourself, and I've been cut several times and hurt myself several times, and the more we can practice communicating those small details, the safer everyone is.
Uh-huh.
But I'm grateful for those things because we can stay enclosed in a little box and not explore the world, or we can explore, and if we just by doing that we take risks.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, there are risks.
If I came to you and I said, Shawnee, I'm a very spiritual person. Not spiritual. Everybody's spiritual, but I'm into spirituality, into spiritual development, consciousness, and all that. And however, sexually, I'm very normal, or I don't know if I should say normal, but very simple. Nothing out of the ordinary. But I'm still far from being enlightened spiritually. I'm not the Buddha, and that's something that really interests me, to advance spiritually. And how could I advance spiritually? By adopting whatever it is that you teach. So what I'm trying to say is, can you answer me like, okay, Michael, fine, you have a very conventional way of having sex. However, if you started to do this, that, and the other, and let your girlfriend do this, that, and the other to you, then it'll affect your spirituality in this kind of way. And then I'll go, okay, well, that's worth trying then.
Yeah. So most of my teachings are about kink as a tool for expanding self-awareness and self-knowledge. And I think I want to make sure no one who's watching this or listening thinks I'm any kind of spiritual guru, because that's really far away from the truth, because I'm still an explorer like anybody else. However, I can show you several techniques and several ways to learn more about yourself. And some of these would be opening up your shadow side, because many spiritual people think about love and light and crystals and chakras and this beautiful side, but they don't embrace their own shadow. In the Jungian sense of this word shadow, because they've suppressed part of themselves. So, I would say, Michael, some part of you is a wild animal, because, we are mammals, we are that. And have you tuned into that part? Have you ever roared when you had sex, or had your partner roar at you when you had sex? Have you sort of awoken that beast, which is inside you, for sure? Have you ever taken the time to awaken it and really feel the rah inside your body, which is beautiful to feel and express? So I'd say some things like that might be pretty powerful for you.
But I still didn't understand. If I was to roar, how is that going to advance me spiritually? How will it make me more conscious in my day-to-day life?
Sure. So I think the roar is a technique for awakening this beast. And there's a myriad of archetypes inside you. And I suspect there's some archetypes you don't know. So just by awakening this beast inside you, it sort of makes you more powerful, because your consciousness is bigger. You're more aware of when that beast is welcome in the world, which can make you more focused in your day-to-day work and business dealings and with your boundaries and with your intuition with what's going on around you. So awakening that beast inside you just makes you more aware of the world in a sort of beastly sense. Or having your girlfriend do it. If she's opening up her predator. And most women don't get a chance to do this, so I think it's really essential for women. There's a wild woman archetype, which is next to the beast. But if she can access her Ra and her devourer or her seductress, then she's going to live a more embodied way. She's going to live more in her body. She's going to know herself better. And her sexuality is just going to be less shameful and less stigmatized, internally stigmatized, less oppressed by her internalized patriarchy. Because, she just becomes more whole by knowing these different parts. And as you go about the world, in your day-to-day activity, you have more access to different responses to what's going on around you. So I don't want to talk about enlightenment. I want to talk about expansion and self-awareness and becoming more powerful. Because enlightenment, I think we're always moving towards that, but I'm not sure it's a destination, but I don't think we're going to get there. I don't think I'm going to get there. I don't want to get there. I don't want to focus on that endpoint. I want to focus on the expansion and the wholeness and the sort of embodied wisdom.
So that sounds like emotional work. It sounds like emotional work.
Emotions are a very big part of this work. Like you said, you haven't cried. And I'll say, if you don't know your emotions, then accessing your tears is a powerful first step for you. Yeah.
Okay.
Accessing your emotion and your energy body is a powerful first step.
Okay. I think I'm ready to move on to Tantra. Unless, Simkin, you have more clarifications you want.
Yeah, sure. I'm interested let's explore the word energy a little bit and how that comes into your work as a practitioner.
Sure. I love energy work. And this language is versatile. People use different names for the same phenomena. Some people call it chi, like it's in Qigong or Tai Chi. Some people call it prana. And this is an energy podcast, so maybe you covered some of the techniques for feeling energy in a previous episode, I'm not sure. But how to feel energy inside your hands, how to feel it with you and your lover, how to feel it move inside your body. These are some essential tools. And my Michael asked earlier why pain and impact play can be a powerful tool. So, for example, if someone didn't cry and hasn't cried, there might be some blocks inside his body. And a lot of men are cut off above the cock and below the throat. Can I say cock in your podcast? Anyway,
of course, you can say anything. As long as it's not slander, anything goes.
There's no slander. But many men are cut off between the cock and the throat. So they get lust and they get angry, but they don't get any of those other emotions. Yeah. So maybe there's a block there. So by doing the right impact play in the right place, maybe they can unblock those things and sort of help themselves become more powerful. So becoming more aware of ourselves and learning how the energy moves inside us. A lot of these sort of Taoist sex and neo-tantric sex techniques involve the movement of energies inside of our bodies and sharing it until we dissolve consciousness inside of each other. So maybe I've jumped ahead to Michael's next question,
but before that, I'm wondering, because you're a practitioner, could you give us a couple or 3 examples of who are your clients? Is it someone who has emotional pain and goes to a therapist and instead comes to you? Or is it somebody who just divorced? Or is it couples that have issues in their sex life? What's the reason to come to you as a practitioner?
Sure. To answer that, I need to go a bit more into my background. So I started running BDSM workshops about 13 years ago. And my first one was called Shamanic BDSM, because I was really interested in sort of overlap between sort of Western shamanic ritual and BDSM practices. And during that first workshop, someone asked for a private session. They wanted a very cathartic beating. They wanted to be beaten until they cried and they snotted everywhere. And I did this in Prague in 2010. And it was a very powerful moment to run this workshop. So I started advertising more and more, doing more and more workshops. After Prague, I was in London and Stockholm and Melbourne. And doing more and more shamanic BDSM, which is beatings, and found there's different reasons for it.
Yeah.
And some people needed more care. Some people wanted aftercare, like hugs and sort of care. And I realized how important that was, the caring aspect. And it can be big erotic energy. And it was about 10 years ago, someone asked, Shawnee, are you a sex worker? And I legally, the definition is that I am a sex worker because I'm providing BDSM experiences. So I just said, yes, I am. And they thought I meant a full service sex worker, someone who does penetrative sex for an experience. And they said, Shawnee, I'd like to book you for a sexual session. And so I did some soul searching. I realized they misunderstood my offering. And I did some soul searching. I thought, well, I'm going to offer it once to see if it feels good. And I offered it once and created a ritual for this person. It was a very powerful experience. I realized, wow, my repertoire of skills I'm offering has gotten quite broad, and it's getting broader and broader. I can work with people of any gender, but my genitals and my sexuality is inherently heterosexual. So my clients can be anyone these days. Someone who wants a big beating or an emotional experience or some hold space for them. But if it's more on the erotic nature, then it has to be a woman client. So it's quite broad. And who are they? They're people who want to explore and reclaim their own sexuality. Yeah.
How does one know that he's that? How would I know if I wanted to reclaim my sexuality? I don't even understand what it means, let alone to come to you as a practitioner to teach me that.
Yeah. Maybe you don't need to, and maybe you don't as a person. Because maybe some part of you, often there's a calling, some part of you says, fuck, I spent my adulthood, 20 years as an adult, not having a good sex life, and I know there's more to receive, I know there's more to explore. There's got to be more than one position to have sex in, or more than 3 positions, and how can I explore that? How can I explore that without going through the process of dating and finding a partner? How can I make it about me? And paying someone who's a skilled practitioner that can do that for you.
I see.
So you have a girlfriend or a partner at the moment. Maybe a tantra massage is a good thing to try together, side by side, where you both sort of have an ecstatic, erotic massage, and that can be very beautiful. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I get it. It's more, I think it sounds to me like an experience. I don't necessarily have to have a specific problem. You just convinced me. I could tell my girlfriend, look, listen, let's go to Shawnee. Well, let's just check it out. It might be fun or not. See how it goes.
Yeah, come to me. I'm not going to be in your neighborhood anytime soon, but we can find a way to work together. I can drop my web address and everything so people can contact me later if you like.
Cool.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's so much to explore.
Yeah.
Would you say that in general, it's probably fantasy that guides people's direction?
I think not necessarily, but yes, fantasy can be a really big part of it. The erotic fantasy is sort of in the same way that dreams can be processing what's going on in the outside world and can often be politically incorrect. I think sexual fantasies can be the same. So you can fantasize about someone dominating you or about you dominating someone else. And I think kind of weird power dynamics appear in dreams often, and those can be in sexual fantasies. So the example I gave earlier about, telling you what to do and doing something for me, that can be a powerful fantasy for me, where you could fantasize about someone's toes or about, being hurt. But it might not be that. It might be an embodiment exercise, such as earlier I said, they can release the emotions. So maybe it is about releasing emotions, or maybe it's about opening up new parts to yourself. Fairly common kink is anal penetration for men, which I think can be really powerful. But there's many different reasons for it. Maybe it's an ecstatic experience because there's a G-spot up there. So, it's a powerful experience just for that fact alone. But maybe they want to feel like a woman and be penetrated. Or maybe they want to be dominated by a powerful woman. Or maybe there's all these other different reasons that might come into it. But, so being conscious and finding out the reason for the exploration is a really powerful tool.
Uh-huh. So, you said earlier, I think, did you say that, correct me if I'm wrong, that you provide services both to females and males?
Genital contact is for women only.
Yeah.
Because inherently heterosexual, but I can tie you up or beat you or spank you,
As a
no matter
man.
what gender you are. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So how far would you go? I'm just thinking, isn't it embarrassing? I mean, being hetero, suddenly a man comes and you have to. I mean, you just said anal penetration. Would you do anal penetration on a man?
No. These are my personal boundaries, and there's other practitioners who can do much more than me because of their sexuality. But yeah, for me, if it's going to be erotic, it needs to be a gender binary most of the time.
I see.
Yeah.
So how do we go to Tantra from here, Michael?
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
That's a question.
What is Tantra then?
Oh.
So normally we're talking about one of two things. And one is the sort of Southeast Asian series of rituals and prayers and books that have been written, which describe a whole lot of techniques that people can use for consciousness expansion. It's usually embodied, and it's usually about bringing spirit into the body. There's also all kinds of stuff in those Tantra books. But over the last 100 years, some Westerners have very much taken just some parts out of it, the sexual parts. And so we try to make a distinction, and we call that neo-tantra, and it's the sexual aspects. And that's kind of what really interests me or my work. And neo-tantra is about moving energy, about understanding archetypes, around achieving really ecstatic states inside of ourselves and sharing with our partners. Neo-tantra is just about, just creating these powerful rituals where just by having the experience itself, your consciousness expands because you're connected with your partner. You see through their eyes and you feel through their heart for a duration, and it's just such a beautiful thing. And it can be a real life changer, a real game changer. You can have tears of ecstasy and powerful thing. For some people, it's about consent and boundaries, and that's always the cornerstone. Always the most important thing is to start with consent, boundaries, communication, intention, and then moving energy through their bodies either way. Some people like a very gendered version of it, where it's going one way because of man and woman. Other people say it doesn't matter what the gender is, you can circulate energy between two humans regardless of the gender. And most of my early teachers were in the queer community, so I learned much more through those communities such as Raven Caldera, Barbara Corrales, Dossie Easton, just to drop a few names on you.
Okay, Simkin, I didn't get it. I thought Tantra is about not coming.
Well, that might be Tantra, the word I understand to actually mean technique. And it's about different techniques to reach a state where we're in harmony with the world. And if I understood right, neo-tantra focuses on sexuality in this arena where people feel repressed and shame. It's about allowing ourselves to express fully and using the act as a tool for consciousness to be present and to be whole at the same time. At least that's what I thought.
Yeah, I might add to that. Not ejaculating is kind of a technique which helps you sustain and helps you prolong those circulations of energy with you and your partner. So by in your mind and your body separating the orgasm from the ejaculation, so you can have the orgasm without ejaculating, is an easy way to move that orgasm through your whole body. Yeah. And it's easy to say that. It's easier to say it than do it. But
sounds like fun.
Yeah,
having an internal orgasm. Wow, I'd love to have that. Yes, Michael.
Yeah.
I'd like. It's absolutely. It's not spilling the seed has all sorts of advantages, and if that is a door into just talking about masturbation, I'm interested. If you think, is masturbation ever a good thing?
Masturbation is a great thing. It's healthy and it's beautiful and it's natural. So I might ask the other way. I might answer the opposite question: is it ever a bad thing? I think you want to. I think a lot of tantrics. There are some tantrics, neo-tantrics who say they didn't orgasm for multiple years or didn't ejaculate for multiple years. That's not really part of my work. I'm really interested in the energy work. I think not orgasming or not ejaculating means you can be much more sustained in your sex life, so you can have sex for many hours at a time. And if you masturbate without ejaculating in the morning, you can move the energy through your whole body, so you'll be much more focused and empowered through the day. So these are powerful ways to sort of not ejaculate, reasons to not ejaculate. So yeah, if you're going, all right, I gotta get up, I need some energy, sort of raise some energy through your self-pleasuring, and then move the energy through your body without ejaculating. Yeah, you're alert and you're focused and you're powerful. But for me, sometimes the opposite is true. Like, I can't get to sleep. Just my mind's all racing everywhere. By firing one off, then yeah, usually I can get to sleep quite quickly. So I think there is a reason to ejaculate. I think some of the people who say they never ejaculate, that's not my expertise at all, and I wouldn't recommend that unless you really know what you're doing. But I do like to ejaculate. Yeah.
How often would you say is recommended to masturbate a day? 10 times, 15 times, 2 times, 1 time?
I think the scientists say we should ejaculate 5 times a week, but we're talking about some spiritual practices, and so there's a distinction between the spiritual teachers and the practitioners. I would not ejaculate if I had a date or a client that day or the next day, because I just want to build up my sexual energies and my focus and my presence. There's more chance of having a hard cock and keeping it hard for the whole time, as well as being more focused. But for me, I'm 53. I think like a day or two without ejaculating gives me enough strength to do those things that I need to do. But your mileage might vary. Hey.
Yeah, well done. Yeah. I'm 49, and wow, every day, every other day. Okay. I find that by not ejaculating, because I kind of invented my own tantra. I basically thought that tantra means not ejaculating, and personally, and I'm sure many men would agree, once we make love to our partner and ejaculate, all I want to do is just turn around and just watch football and forget my girlfriend even exists. And obviously it's uncomfortable for me. I don't want to be like that, towards her. But what can I do? That's how I am. So by not ejaculating, I'm still horny, so I can make love and more, and then we could stop and go to the kitchen and I'm still all over her, romantic, because I didn't ejaculate. And since I'm 49, and by the way, I wonder what I'm 49, I must say that the strength of my orgasms today is nowhere near as it used to be when I was 18 or 20 or 30. So it's not like I'm missing something that amazing by not ejaculating. Do you find that the power of the orgasm goes down with age?
Okay. No, but let me answer in the long way. You not ejaculating, meaning you can fuck for hours and then go to the kitchen and still be horny and turned on. Sounds amazing, right? That's really good for your relationships. I really encourage you to do that. But I think somewhere in there is you're not really living in your body enough. You're not inhabiting your body. You said you don't cry, so I'm suggesting, perceiving that, there's a whole range of erotic activity inside your body, above your cock and below your throat, that you're missing out on. So by learning how to bring that energy up into your body, you're going to have more powerful orgasms again. And I really would recommend doing that.
Interesting.
And there's some techniques to learn. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because when you were young, you had more access to your emotions and you're just more alive and more raw. And now if it's just orgasm is not fun or not as exciting, then there's ways to do it. I'll give you one suggestion.
Yeah, please.
Maybe your partner has to agree, but on your own, for example, if you're self-pleasuring, you can call it self-pleasuring or masturbating. If you're masturbating on your own, and on a scale of 1 to 10, you get to about, 10 means, right, I'm about to come. You get to about 6 or 7, like quite nice. And then you just stop self-pleasuring and you just sort of rub your own body and take some breaths as you do it. And just sort of just sort of move that energy around your whole body, sort of
For how long?
the spreading motion.
For
And
how
that's going to
long?
move that orgasmic. Like 3 or 4 minutes.
And then
3 or 4 minutes until you
resume
can feel
the
it.
and then resume the activity.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Thanks.
That's a
I'll
good
do
try.
it.
Good thing to try.
I'll make sure I do it next time.
An expansion on that. Yeah, do it and write to me. Let me know how you go. And anyone who's watching or listening, please let me know how you go. Another way is to get your girlfriend or a practitioner to do it for you. So if your girlfriend's pleasuring you, or masturbating you can say, I'm at 6 or 7 now, and she can just keep holding your cock and start to move her hands over your body, so all the energy isn't just stored in your cock, but it's moving around your body, and then she can just spread that energy and learn how the energy moves in your body, and you can feel it. And do that several times and you'll start to feel your whole body feels much more alive, much more sexual, much more full. Instead of orgasm just being isolated in that part of your body called the cock, orgasm can later come in your whole body. And that can happen without ejaculation. And you'll find that pretty quickly. You'll find the first couple, do it a few times, and you'll find it pretty quickly that happens. Yeah.
So how do you know that?
Yeah.
How do you know what you just told me?
I think there's a teacher, and I forgot his name. Sorry, I forgot the teacher's name. But I watched the videos and did some courses about male sexuality, and
I see.
Just learning how the energy works, learning how to move my body when I watch porn. You can ask me about porn, I'm not sure.
Porn. I was going to ask about porn.
Yeah, most people who watch porn, they sit here and they just move their hand, and they don't move their body. So that, again, the orgasm and ejaculation is in a very isolated place. But if you can sort of move your body when you masturbate, hold your heart while you're orgasming. Even if you do ejaculate, hold your heart. It just sort of brings more of the energy and more of the focus into your whole body. It spreads it from the cock up to here. It just like makes your orgasms bigger. So moving your body, take it to more extremes, and like if you ask, you can stand up and move your body in and out of your hands while you're sort of watching the porn. What else?
What else?
You watch porn and you sort of project yourself into the picture, right? You say, "Oh, if I was there eating that pussy, that would be so good," and then people can orgasm doing that. But instead, watch that porn, whatever it is, and allow that arousal to affect your body, and bring your consciousness to your body so you feel how it affects you, and then use it in your body instead of leaving your body into the porn. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but Simkin, isn't porn a bad thing? I thought porn was bad, and you should avoid it at all cost.
That would be my first response, but I also am willing to understand that you can't sort of beat yourself over the head with a hammer for being bad. If you're into something, forbid it. If it's something you feel very driven to do, and it might be healthier to bring consciousness to it, and sort of accept it and look to be real and turn it into something positive and healthy.
I think thank you. I agree with you, Michael. And much to expand on that, there are certainly unhealthy aspects of porn. There's no doubt about that. Such as the obsession and the addiction of horniness, and combined with dopamine of scrolling of different video images can be really compelling, and you can leave your body, just get sort of addicted into that, and then you forget what it's like to be in your real body with a real human lover. And so that can be really unhealthy. Also, the way a lot of porn is produced is unhealthy. But some simple solutions to that are things like, as I said, being in your body more, so that any porn you're consuming is affecting your body rather than just sort of getting addicted to it. It's one way. Not using it as your sole source of sexual pleasure. And also being conscious of where your porn is produced, like paying producers Make Love Not Porn is one website, for example, where real people go and upload their porn. and it's healthy. It's created by people who enjoying it rather than people who have less choices. So there are certainly unhealthy aspects to porn, but I would not say avoiding it at all costs. It can be integrated to have a very healthy sex life.
Okay.
And yes,
I was going to say, if you could look back at sort of meet your 21-year-old self, what advice would you give to yourself?
Probably I would slap my 21-year-old self and say don't smoke. But beyond that, I got some other advice. First of all, I would say let's deconstruct some of this program you've been brought up with. I was brought up to believe that somehow men provide love and women provide sex. I think it's quite a common belief, and that's absolute nonsense. It's absolute nonsense because people of any gender, doesn't matter what gender you are, people like love and people like sex, and anyone can enjoy it. There might be different biological arousal systems, but still everyone's thinking about sex all the time. So Shawnee, stop trying to exchange love for sex. It's just nonsense. That's probably the most important thing. I probably would also say, Shawnee, there's no such thing as a soulmate. Don't look for your soulmate. Just enjoy your life, each moment. Because I used to believe in this idea of a soulmate. And whenever I would date someone or flirt with someone, I would try and squeeze them into this blueprint that I had constructed in my mind of what my soulmate might be. And if they didn't perfectly fit into this blueprint, I didn't want to date them. So I spent a lot of time, a lot of years being unhappy because the person I was seeing didn't really fit into this nonsensical blueprint. But once I sort of stopped believing in that, I started to realize started to appreciate the person who was in front of me. And my whole love life and sex life and intimacy became so much better because they're much more honest and true. So those are two of the big things. Yeah. I used to believe in monogamy as an ideal. And that is good for some people. If you've got monogamy and you're happy, then that's amazing. But I would say to my younger 21-year-old self, don't try to find monogamy. It's not going to be your path. It's not going to make you happy. So these are some of the things.
What about intimacy? How do you define intimacy?
I love intimacy, and I don't know how to define it actually, but I would define it as some kind of shared vulnerability, that's sort of opening up energetically, opening the heart and meeting somebody else, and sort of there's a vulnerability in that process. There's a risk in that process. For me, that's intimacy.
In the Love Guru, the movie, he says, "Into me you see."
All right, yeah, literally.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the sense that if we're all a piece of life looking at itself, intimacy is where we remove the blockages and life is able to see itself through us.
Yeah, nice. I agree with that. I would use the word feel as much as important as see in that context. So we can not just see each other, but feel each other. I think that distinction feels important.
Yeah, all senses, absolutely. Wow, it's interesting.
Yeah,
I guess I'm a pretty visual person. That's really interesting.
Do you have like a vision? Do you have like any plans for the future? Where would you see yourself in 10 years' time?
10 years' time. I have a vision. I feel like a lot of humans have this shadow, in the Jungian sense of the shadow, and we project it onto each other instead of explore and understand it and own it.
Wow.
And by helping more people understand their own shadow, I feel like we're going to have less people projecting their shadow onto others. And that's, I think, there's going to be less hatred and blame and possibly less wars in the world. And this happens on a personal level as well as on a national level. Nations say, this nation does this bad thing, we hate them. But really, both nations are doing the same thing in many cases. So I feel like the Shadow Tantra isn't just a personal thing, it's a global thing. So one vision is to sort of help more people understand that process of feeling something and projecting it. Where do I
Good.
see myself in? Yeah, good.
Yeah, but in 10
And
years, where do you see yourself?
Yeah, in 10 years. At the moment, most of my work is traveling from place to place. Already over the past years, I've toured in many different countries, many different cities, and I'd like to bring my work to different places. Maybe in 10 years, I'll have a venue and I'll be running workshops there more permanently. And I could host other teachers who have their own special gifts to come visit my venue. And I think that sounds nice. Maybe with a beach on one side and a rainforest on the other side, and some kind of temple. And yeah, come and run your workshops there once you have some stuff to teach. Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I just encourage people to take more courage in sharing their fantasies with their partners. Even if it's just like not a fantasy, but hey, partner, I'd like to try this thing. Someone told me my G-spot is in my bum. Can you help me see if it's true? Or what happens if I tell you what to do for a little while, or you tell me what to do for a little while? Or, yeah, do the right kind of impact. So I'd encourage people to explore these things. Yeah, I would like to encourage people to feel less shame and stigma around their sexuality, whether it's a kink or a queerness or something. I encourage people to welcome other people's sexuality, because I think that's really important. So there's so much hatred and blame directed at queer people, LGBTQ people. So sort of, embrace it and send love to the people, regardless of the sexuality and the age and disabilities, different reasons. I have some online courses. Someone goes to SeaniLove.com. You can see courses. There's one for men called Level Up. It's teaching men how to become better lovers. That includes embodiment, making peace with porn, and making peace with the predator energy inside. There's another course called Getting Conscious with Kink, which, how to use the tools of kink to expand the sex lives and the consciousness. And and the last thing I would suggest is, if you want me to teach in the city near you, write to me, and if you can organize a space and a place for me to teach in, and I love exploring the world and teaching. I welcome your listeners and watchers to get in touch and join me on this journey.
Cool. I think we'll put your email address in the description of the video. So whoever wants to write
www.SeaniLove.com. Yeah.
I'll definitely be contacting you.
Fantastic. I
Cool.
do couples online sessions as well. So nice to meet you both.
Yep.
And love to all the audience. And big love.
Yeah, I want to say thank you, a big thank you, and for bringing yourself and also your sense of openness, which is a guiding light, and to helps to wash away any shame people have about being who they are sexually.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
I definitely learned a lot. It was very interesting. And wow, what can I say? It was a pleasure. And I wish you luck, all the best. And thank you very much for coming on our show.
Absolute pleasure. And see you again one day. Bye for now.
Okay.
Bye,
good day.
man.
Bye now. Cheers.
Bye.